Hi, I am Stacy Davenport, and I today am hoping to share with you some resources, some free resources that you can use with your kids with the Discovering Reading book. So, today I want to show you reading and writing go together. And you're going to see that if your child is really struggling with reading, we want to help that child to learn how to read through those each individual phonics concepts and also through the high frequency words. But then we also want to connect that to writing. The more that you use all of your senses to learn something, the more likely you are to remember it, and the more you will just learn it and it will become ingrained in your mind. So, we want to use as many of those senses as we can, and we're going to just see how reading and writing work together. And I think that you will see this with your student as you go along as well. So, I'm going to share one of the supports that I'm going to give you, and you'll find this linked below. Okay, so this one is the Discovering Reading Writing Practice. So I have two on here, and I'm going to show you the difference between them. So the first one would be if you have a very low level struggling child, and they also are not very good with their handwriting. And I would say out of all of my students, really, I don't have any that are really great with handwriting. So it cannot hurt anyone, okay? The idea is to help the child know where to start. If you have an H, you start all the way up at the skyline and you go down to the grass line and then you go around and you hit in the airplane line, right? But if you have a J, you start at the airplane line, you go down to the worm line, and then you put the dot in the middle. And so helping them to see where that go, and you can even trace it with them, you can do different things, but really helping them to have that practice is really helpful. And so that's why this bottom line is here, but this is helpful just for their practice. So they're going to put the first word that you give them, they're going to put that in this space under the one, but inside these lines, and the second one over here, and the third one over here. So, what you're going to do is after your child reads the book, so whatever book they have, I'm going to show you, you can use the same paper and just make copies of it. And then you'll be able to use it with another document that I have for you that will show which words to give for each book that your child reads. So then you want to pick out a phrase. So you don't just want them to learn how to write one word at a time, but how to write words inside a phrase. And so then you'll give them that phrase and then they'll write it down. And then you're going to give them a sentence. And after you give them a sentence, they're going to repeat it to you and then they're going to write it down. Okay, so this one is just for kids who really don't need those lines, and they're doing okay with their writing. And so then you're going to give them those three words, and then you're going to have two phrases on here, and then you're going to have two sentences. So what I did is that the first six books are really low level. They're for really struggling readers who are just learning and or are just really, really struggling. And you're going to pick out those short vowels and you're going to practice, practice, practice. So I only did those for this page. But then when you get into the diagraphs and those kind of things, then you could have them for the double ones as well, to have double phrases or double sentences. Okay. So now let me show you the other document that you will use. This one will tell you book number one, MAG. And so when you read, I'm going to pull this up, but I think my screen is mirrored. Oh, you can't even see it. Maybe you can. Okay. It's maybe that's so good. But if your child read that book with you, then what you would do is after you finish, you would come through here and you would look. This is just for your own information because your child doesn't see this. This is just for you to see. And you remember that, oh yeah, we were working on short A's in this book. And then the new high frequency words, like all of them are new because it's the first book. But so you're going to have the, is, and on. And so you're going to have that inside the high frequency word phrase and mixed in with a phonics word as well, right? And most of those will have some kind of combination of either the phonics term or a high frequency or mixed together, one of those. And then you're going to have the sentence, okay? And that will cover words that you learned and possibly also a high frequency word. But at least you're going to use those words in a sentence. You're going to use those words in a phrase so that you learn to write one word, one word, one word, and then one phrase, and then one sentence, okay? And when you write the sentence, make sure that your child writes with a capital letter to begin it and then ends with a period. And go ahead and start those kind of things that we all know to do, or we should start those early with your child and have them remember, oh, it's the beginning of a sentence. What do we do with our letter? We capitalize it. And then how do we end our sentence? With punctuation. And which punctuation here? A period. Okay. And so you're going to give them the word. So you're going to say, remember when we were reading that word and it said that Mag sat on the mat? Can you tell me that word sat? And then just have the child repeat sat, sat. And then you say, how many sounds do you hear in that word? And this is where you can have one of those little cards that has like 3 dots on it, and they can like put their finger as they say like s, a, t. And you'd be like, that's right. So how many sounds? 3 sounds. And then you would say, can you spell that word for me? And then your child should hopefully can say S-A-T. And then you'd say, that's great. Can you write it for me? And then on the other document that I just showed you, they're going to write that out, S-A-T. And then you're just going to praise them so much. And if they need help, you're going to help them. And you're going to say, what says S? Or what says ah? And help them to get those sounds, okay? And then you're going to go to the next one and you're going to be like, now where did Mag sit? And then hopefully your child will say on the mat, right? And you're going to be like, that's right. And that word mat, how many sounds do you hear? And hopefully they will tell you at. And if not, you just do it with them and help them to get it. And then the more that you do it, the more it becomes a routine and they'll be able to do it. And then you're going to say, now, can you spell that word for me? And then they'll spell it and they'll write it. And then you can have a phonics phrase. And so you're going to say, okay, now I'm going to give you a phrase. And that's not a sentence, so we don't need to capitalize it. And we're going to say, on the mat. And then just have your child repeat, on the mat. And then as he says on, you're just going to have him say, on the mat. And he doesn't need to spell out all of those. He's going to spell them out with when he does the words, but he doesn't need to do it when he does the phrases. And then you're going to have the phonics and high frequency word sentence, and then you're going to say, now we're going to write a sentence. Remember, if we write a sentence, we're going to start our sentence with a capital letter and end it with punctuation, okay? And don't be afraid of those big words like punctuation. Have them repeat it, have them learn it. Children's vocabulary, they can learn so many things when they're young. And so you want to be filling them with all the vocabulary that they're going to need to be successful. And so you want to go ahead and teach them that. And that's why we say what goes at the end, not just a period, because you can end it with a period or a question mark or an exclamation point, and you're going to have all of those throughout these sentences. So you'll see them there. So then you're going to say, rat is rad, and then have him repeat it. Rat is rad, and say, can you write that sentence for me? And just have him go, rat is rad. And you're going to go back after your child does each one, and you're just going to check it with them. And if it's correct, then it's great and everything's good. Sometimes it's not going to be. And so if it's not correct, you can go back and help them to find that sentence in the book, because all of these phrases, all of these words, and all of these sentences are in the book. And so have him find it in the book and look at the difference between what your child wrote and what was in the book, and then say, what sound does this make? And what sound did we write? And the more that you can draw attention and help your child to see where it was different and why it needs to be changed, then the next time it will be better. So then you're just going to correct it at that time when your child can see it in the book and then see what he wrote. Then you're just going to let him correct it right there. I like to have my child write in pen and then learn to scratch it out, because we have to learn to make mistakes, and then we learn to fix our mistakes. And we don't want to be afraid of making mistakes because they're going to happen. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And we would just encourage to scratch over that and put the correct one on top and then continue. Okay, so I hope this helps. This document has all of the books on it. So if you have book 3, book 4, book 7, all of them are on here. And like I said, after you get to, let's see, I think it is right here. After you get to book 10, then they start to go ahead and have your optional second phrase and an optional second sentence. And so you'll see them there and you can use them. But this goes through all of the books. It will tell you the phonics concept. It will tell you the high frequency words. It will tell you all of those things to do. And it's there for you. And you can make a copy of it for yourself, whatever you need to do. And please, I would love for you, if this is helpful for you, please download it and subscribe to my channel, and I will try to share more resources that can be helpful, and then share my channel with a friend. I would just really want more kids to learn how to read, and I hope that this is helpful for them. If you have ideas or recommendations from me, please put them in the bottom comments. I'm glad to receive comments. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll share the next video soon.